Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the All Four Downs podcast. I'm your host, Obi1, and I called in the bullpen. Wait a minute, this is football. Oh, yeah, that's right. My bad. I went on the knee. I went to the transfer portal. I deleted Joe, and I got no other than Justin. Justin, thank you for coming on the show, my friend.
Yeah, thanks, Obi, for having me. It's been a couple years since I've been on the show. Excited after the
Yeah,
first
that's right.
playoff rankings that came out tonight.
Yes, absolutely. And I can't believe couple of years. Man, that's a
Yeah,
great reminder, man. Oh, I need to get you on the show more often. My bad,
and
man.
whenever
My
you
bad.
want, let me know. No worries.
Hey, you're on point. Today was the first 2024 selection committee announced the first top 25 and the official top 12, an outlook of what is projected to be a very good one, moving on forward from now for what could possibly happen in the college football playoffs.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that the 12-team playoff now as well. I think it's gonna definitely help the parity of the sport because the last couple of years it's only feels like 4 or 5 teams get in, and I think now with the transfer portal of NIL, I think some of that wealth's gonna spread around. So I think it's kind of awesome time to finally expand it to 12 teams, and especially this year, it kind of feels like 2007 where it's a ton of craziness and there's a lot of there's probably what 7, 8 teams that probably won national championships this year.
Right. Exactly. And the thing is, we talk about 12 teams and you think, oh, it's expanded, but technically not so much. And we're gonna get into that real quick because um I thought it was a bigger picture, but after noticing how everything developed today, and we're going to recap the rankings, is that there ain't that many teams going into the playoffs. If you pay attention to the rules, and we're going to cover that too. But before we do that, did you know only one team that initially is ranked number one in the very first college football playoff rankings won the national champion, right? They won the national championship, and that is Alabama. The only one. This is the 11th season that we have playoffs in the college football, right? Only Alabama has done it. Only four teams that finished number one in the final rankings won the national championship, and that is Michigan, Georgia, Alabama, and LSU. Meaning, at the very final of the top 25 rankings, whoever was ranked number one, only four times have they won the national championship. And then there is 6 teams of 10 college football playoff seasons that never finished number one in the rankings, but made it in the playoffs to win the national championship. So only 3 true statements of all this. Will it matter? We'll have to see. And this show is brought to you by CMG Sports Central. Visit cmgsportscentral.com for the latest podcast of your favorite major sports. And we'll move on to first down. And this is the committee. Well, let me zoom in real quick. Oh, yeah, that's right. This is the committee who went ahead today to announce the top 25. And Chair Ward Manuel was the leader of the committee, who is part of the Michigan Wolverines. And the rules are the 12-team college football playoff, 5 highest ranked conference champions receive automatic bids. Now, this is something that I was wrong about, okay? And hear me out. I thought that, for one, I knew that the top 4 will get the automatic bye week, right? The conference. But I had thought that the 5th highest ranked conference champion gets the number 5 seed. That is not the case. And I was totally wrong about that. So all these weeks believing in that, the 5th highest conference champion squeezes in, right? 5 through 12. That's it. However, if they're that good enough, that if you're seeded 5 through 8, then you have the first round as a home team. Okay. So everybody else is at large and they go in order of the top 25, which is the remaining teams that's left in the rankings, excuse me. That's why that window is very, very small. Okay. And I tell you what, Justin, there's a lot of teams in the top 12. Somehow, some way, they're going to play each other before the season's over. I'm loving this. This is the playoffs starting right now, and we're not even in the playoffs.
Yeah, yeah, and I know going in to see people like kind of with the four, will the regular season matter less now that there's 12 teams? But no, I think you're right because yeah, this weekend I know we'll get to the game later on, but Alabama LSU's elimination game. Um, Texas A&M possibly could be one, the week of Thanksgiving. So, Miami, Clemson, I know Clemson's out of it, but Clemson could still make their way back into it as well, winning the ACC. So yeah, there's a lot of credence, a lot of things that happen. So yeah, I don't think it's going to devalue the regular season at all. And yeah, there's going to be a lot of good football, and it seems like every week too we got some craziness, and there's been seems like every week an upset or two as well that nobody saw
Yes,
coming.
a lot of it, and there's going to be a lot more pressure now. Everyone knows which positions that they're in, right? Let's start off with our rankings 20 to 25, the same way ESPN did it, right? Colorado, Washington State, Louisville, Clemson, Missouri, and Army. Listen, I felt disrespectful for Army. Okay. Yes, I am a veteran, served in the Army, but that's not the case. The thing is that they're for the first time in the American Athletic Conference. They're not even independent anymore, right? And they're taking over this conference, and they're 8-0. Okay, 7-0 in the conference, 8-0 overall record. Yet in a couple of weeks, they have to play Notre Dame at Yankee Stadium. Okay, that's their top notch right there, right? They got to play North Texas, and then they play Notre Dame at Yankee Stadium. However, these are the players, and it gets me mad and upset. It's like you want to thank the soldiers for their service and everything else. These are our future leaders. These guys don't go to the NFL. Once they're done with Army and they graduate West Point, they're serving our country. They're our future officers in the ranks, and to have them at number 25, it's like a slap in the face. These guys didn't even get selected in the powerhouse schools, yet they're going to sacrifice their time to play the game of football, which they love, yes, but they didn't get a scholarship to Alabama. They didn't get a scholarship to Georgia, Ohio State. They're in the Army. And first place, first time in the conference, and they're whipping butt. Okay, they're kicking ass. They're scoring over 40 points. Man, they're just making their opponents look silly, yet they're ranked 25, Justin.
Yeah, I know Army's been really fun to watch this year, and I wonder because I get what you're saying they're 8-0, and the way Missouri and Clemson, like who those two teams beating, pretty much nobody. And I wonder what the Bryson Daly injury, the quarterback, I wonder if that kind of hurt Army's ranking a little bit because, it sounds like he may be out a couple weeks. And, maybe that's something, we saw last year at Florida State with the Jordan Travis kind of situation, them being left out. So, yeah, I get it, because they've been fun to watch. And especially, that they kind of figure out the new offenses, a little bit scheme change after, the cut blocks got taken out 2 years
Right.
ago, and both, Army Navy kind of really showed last year offensively, but it seems like they've really figured it out and they can throw the ball. Grayson Daly's been awesome to watch, and hopefully he gets back, especially with that Notre Dame game.
Absolutely. Listen, I understand that other teams have blown out Air Force. Okay. San Jose State, Baylor, they limited them, but so did the Army. Okay. I know Navy beat them 34-7, but Army beat them 20-3. They didn't allow them to score anything. And yeah, their offense is at times, I say, it's very traditional, but this year they've been throwing the ball a lot more, right? And you have like you still have 5 or 6 different people running the ball, okay? But hey, it is what it is. And like everybody, my pride of views be like, well, what the hell with Army, like, yeah. But the thing is, they're not scholared. They're going to serve our country. That is the big difference. Just telling you. Missouri, 6-2, 24. Why? Why are they ranked in the top 25 when they did play Texas A&M, lost 41-10? They get shut out by Alabama, 34-0. That just tells me that the rest, I mean, they're 0-2. I'm sorry, they're 2-2 in the SEC, but the teams they need to beat, the teams that last year they were in the top 10, right now they don't even deserve to be in the top 25, and the scoring differential is in the negative. How you put them in the top 25?
I don't know, and especially because Auburn should have beat them a couple weeks ago. Yeah, they've looked like total frauds when they've gone up against anybody that had at the polls this year. Like they only beat BC by 6, and they had a real shot to lose that football game. A&M killed them by 31, and then they got shut out to Alabama. I know Brady Cook didn't play, but that's another thing. Like their quarterback's out too, so that kind of feels like a little SEC bias there. That they always got to prop that conference up a bit. So yeah, I'm with you. I was a little surprised to see them in the rankings. I'd rather seen
Yeah,
somebody
there's a
else.
lot of bias on this, man, and we'll cover that after everything else. Color, like I said, everybody else looked good the way it's supposed to be. Those of you that pay attention to my top 25, you can also look at it at cngsportscentral.com. But everything looks situated there. 15-19, LSU, Ole Miss, Iowa State, Pittsburgh, and Kansas State. I agree. There's nothing in those. I mean, they're not in that order for my rankings, but they're in that window. So I'm liking this so far. And boo-hoo to Iowa State because they blew it last weekend. And I thought that they had a chance to be in the top 12. They got a huge climb. And I think the loss for Iowa State kind of ruined it for the Big 12.
Yeah, to try to get that second bid. Yeah, because now I think BYU's going to lose at some point. Like that conference has been so competitive, and there's so many pretty much close games. I think they're all kind of evenly matched. And yeah, and Iowa State's been kind of asking for it because they should have lost to UCF about 2 weeks ago. They came back as Iowa. Like they really haven't played great at times this year. So it kind of felt like only a matter of time till Iowa State slipped up. And you saw it Saturday, Texas going down the field late and getting that game win touchdown.
Yeah. All right. So this is the outlook of the whole entire college football playoff bracket. This is the projected bracket. And again, this is their first one. Okay. Their very first one. And I like the top four. Okay. I'm not debating it. Uh, I'm not really strong with Miami yet. A lot of people, I mean, if you pay attention to the show, they are blessing Miami like they're such a great team. But Miami to me looked like the last 2 years of USC. Okay. There's no defense. And yet, yeah, their quarterback Ward is all over the place. He's doing so much. Take him out of the equation, and what are you going to have left? No good Miami. And there's a lot of defense in this top 12 that could easily contain that quarterback. And yeah, he's the front runner for the Heisman. Is either that or the ACC itself is not up to par like the rest of these conferences.
Yeah, I'm with you. The ACC the last couple of years feels like it's been down. And I agree with you too with Miami. Is yeah, their defense is going to get them beaten. If Georgia Tech's quarterback Keen's healthy this week, I wouldn't be shocked if Georgia Tech knocks off Miami again. Miami going to Syracuse a couple weeks. I wouldn't be
Oh,
shocked
yeah.
if Syracuse beat them up at the Dome. So yeah, like this Miami team, it kind of feels like you know they took a while to pull away from Duke last week as well, and yeah, like without Cam
Absolutely.
Ward in that offense. So yeah, I'm with you. Like I think
And
Miami's you can
in
go.
that defense, yes, because Miami, remember, Duke's head coach is
I mean,
a former head coach of Miami,
yeah,
Manny, right?
Manny Diaz.
So
Yep, Manny Diaz.
yeah, he still knows a little something, something going on in Miami, but just didn't have enough to pull it off. I actually went for Duke, and I thought they were gonna pull it upset, but somehow Miami ended up covering the spread, and I lost my ticket because of that. It is
Yeah,
what it is. But
yeah,
Miami's playing Georgia Tech, Wake Forest, and then Syracuse to end the season, and I'm just curious to see. I mean, I think the Syracuse game is going to be a wild card. I know there was an embarrassment by Syracuse on their last game, but sometimes you got to get humiliated to jump back up, right? Um, I agree with Oregon, Georgia, number 2 seed because of the SEC, but I'm not really fond of Georgia, and I believe me, they're ranked total at number 3 in the rankings, and they deserve to be number 3 because of Carson Beck throwing these interceptions. I just don't understand why. And this used to be an elite team. The defense is good, but it seems like Carson Beck is going backwards.
Yeah, it has this year, and I thought the two of the three interceptions he threw on Saturday were triple coverage. It's just like I don't know if he's just not reading the defense well, but it definitely seems like he's taking a step back this year. And I know it hurts not having Brock Bowers and Ladd McConkey, and those are two
Oh
really
yeah,
good
absolutely.
weapons
Yeah.
to have. And yeah, and I know they're missing kind of that elite talent on the outside this year, but yeah, it really seems like he's taking a step back, and because Georgia's played with their food at times. Like Florida had a third string walk on transfer from Yale in there, and they took him a while there to Florida was able to hang around there on Saturday afternoon.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Let's tune in to more on the rest of the rankings here, and I agree with Notre Dame. Uh, I actually had Notre Dame seated at number 9, but being at number 10, that means I'm almost on point. All the teams that I see here, minus Boise State, is what I have so far. Um, and again, we could debate on the Miami with SMU. I think SMU is a better team than Miami. If SMU wins out, it could be potentially SMU versus Miami in the ACC championship. And I do believe that SMU can eliminate Miami. I am loving that defense. Texas A&M is the second team looking out, right? They're ranked number 14. The Aggies, they got a greater chance of making it should they surpass Texas. They play. That's the biggest rivalry. I mean, you thought Texas and Oklahoma, which was this year, wasn't so much of a rivalry game because Oklahoma's been banged up. But I'm interested to see how Texas and the Aggies they're going to reunite again. I mean, I haven't seen this rivalry in so long since both these teams were in the Big 12, right? And now we're finally going to have it in College Station. I'm excited for this.
Yeah, that's gonna be a great game. I know they always used to be played on Thanksgiving night, or mostly. I don't know if it will this year or not, but yeah, that's going to be a great. That's again, probably, barring any upsets, probably one of those teams is going to be playing for a spot in the SEC championship game. So yeah, it's gonna be a huge one. I can't wait to kind of watch that rivalry again. And I one bad thing about the conference line is they stopped playing for so long, and you kind of wish that they would have played an icon. But yeah, the way Texas A&M, Mike Elko's done a really nice job in year one, and Connor Wegman and Marcel Reed. I know they've been kind of going back and forth in those two, but yeah, that should be a great game. That should be an awesome atmosphere down there, Kyle Field. That's going to be one of the best games to kind of watch probably all year.
Absolutely. The schedule comparison is the I'm sorry, schedule the strength of schedule. I'm losing my English already. In the top 12, you see Georgia number 1. I've called it from the very beginning for preseason. Looking at Georgia, they're playing 5 top 25 teams, and it seems like it's getting clustered towards the end because and looking at the remaining of their schedule, they're playing Ole Miss this weekend. Then they play Tennessee next week. So that's back to back top 25 teams, right? They already beat Texas. They lost to Alabama. But if you look at that game, being down 28 to nothing in the first quarter and almost winning it at the very end, that speaks volume. That speaks perseverance and resilience. But when you play Florida, when you barely play, like the last couple of weeks has not been right. Okay. And we already talked about that, right? Uh I'm just interested to see will this give motivation and see a big turnaround in that Georgia offense. With that, everybody else is in double digits, and that's left scratching my head. Um, I'm just Indiana, probably the weakest schedule, but even no matter who you play with, Justin, Indiana, do they deserve to be number 8, especially them blowing out all their opponents with that strength of schedule?
I think they should be higher up because, if you take the logo off the helmet and I know they really haven't played anybody yet, but the way they've been beating up on everybody, like let's say they had Ohio State or Michigan logo, they're probably what in the top three because you know, so that's the thing. Like I get it, it's Indiana, it's not a big
Like Michigan last year.
yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Yes.
they didn't play anybody till Penn State, and that was what, like the first week of November, late October, somewhere in there. They didn't play anybody. So yeah, I think Indiana should be a bit higher because they've covered, I think, in every game besides week one. Like they're literally, keeping their foot on the pedal and just blowing teams out for 60 minutes. So I do think they should be a bit higher. But again, it's kind of the brand bias there.
Listen, I would have switched Indiana with Penn State. I mean, you're talking about Penn State playing Ohio State. I think Penn State was overrated. Penn State's offense did not score a touchdown. That one touchdown was the very first score of the game, where it was an interception and they
Yeah.
ran it back. But that offense couldn't click. And when they moved, there was always a bunch of mistakes. And Ohio State didn't look impressive either. So, but Penn State just looked worse. And you look at the resume, they just can't be a top 5 team, right? But let's get some room. Let's give some more respect to Indiana. That's all I'm saying. Yeah, and I know there's the strength of schedule is weak, but they're winning their games. I mean, who would ever thought that Indiana will be in this position? I sure didn't. Nobody believed Indiana will be in the top 10. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, I'm with you, and I really like Kirsten. I followed him at James Madison and what he did there, and again, his saying when he walked in, Google me, I'm a winner. Like they bought into his culture and they bought into like they believe. Like a couple weeks on like again, like when they go to Ohio State in a couple weeks, he's gonna have that team believing they're gonna walk in there and walk over Ohio State. I don't think it's gonna happen, but he'll have that team believing. And Ohio State's not careful that day. Indiana's Ohio State be very careful because Indiana's not going to be afraid to walk into Ohio State and be afraid of them.
I just hope that they do represent and it's not a joke because once should Indiana lose to Ohio State, then it's like, okay, we're gonna treat them like Florida State of last year. All right. Um, my other question here. Listen, out of these top 12 teams, which teams do you believe will not make it to the college football playoffs at the end of the season?
For me, I'll start. I don't think Tennessee's going to get in. I do think Georgia's going to knock them off. I don't like the way their offense has been playing. I know they finally scored a touchdown the first time over in a month in the first half. I know their defense has played really, really well. I don't. I think they'll drop to Georgia, and I wouldn't even be shocked if Vandy knocks them off. The way Vandy's playing, and I don't think BYU is going to get in either. I think they're going to drop one or two. I think Iowa State could win that conference. BYU kind of feels like though the last year, like Washington and TCU, like they're in TCU 2 years ago, where they're kind of just finding ways to win. Like I don't know
Mhm.
how great they are, but you do have to give them credit for that. And I don't think Alabama's going to get in either. I think they're going to lose LSU this weekend, and they really
Oh,
haven't
really?
been too impressive. Yeah, Tiger
All right.
Stadium on a Saturday night. I can't bet against the LSU.
Oh man, that's a risk. That is a risk. You know what? You better save that comment for later.
All right.
Um, I don't know. I mean, you may got a point. And it, you know what? Nick Saban's not around. Got it. I got to remind myself that.
Yeah.
For me, I still believe that I'm gonna be disappointed, man. I think Indiana might lose against Ohio State. They get eliminated. I think Tennessee is out. I do believe that Boise State is going to be out. I think Boise State could cruise all the way to the very last game, and they play Oregon State. And Oregon State is an average team. I think they're 4-4 right now. But when it comes to games that you really need, that's not the school you want to go against, right? Because they got nothing to lose. And that pressure, they only depend on that running back that's in the Heisman race. So you stop that run, you're gonna stop Boise State, right? And who else? Penn State. I mean, they suffered a loss to Ohio State, and I think if everyone look at that playbook, you'll see that maybe they could be out, right? I'm guaranteeing Oregon's will be there. I guarantee Oregon and Ohio State will have a rematch for the Big Ten championship. I do believe that Georgia will be in the SEC championship, but there's a lot of teams going against each other to determine who's going to be that second team, right? Could it be the Aggies or could it be Texas? Could we see a rematch in that game? That's going to be pretty interesting there. Um, but let me see who else that we haven't mentioned yet. Look, looking at the top 12, you only have really one Big 12 team, and that is
BYU.
what BYU. Ain't that that's sad. That's very
Yeah.
sad. But at the end, could we get more Big 12 teams?
I
Could
don't
it
know.
be?
They're
You
beating
know,
each other up.
as long as I don't have a 3-loss team in the top 12, that's all that matters. All right. We're moving on to second down, and then the probability formulas here. Again, we're talking about the top 12 here, and the chances to reach the college football playoffs is like this. Okay. The top 12 have, of course, has a higher advantage. Everybody else pretty much is slim to none, right? Um, but I'm just curious to see, and I'm it's a far stretch, but I'm still digging Army versus Notre Dame, especially being at Yankee Stadium. There's a lot of history there, but then you could compare to Navy in the same boat, and they got crushed. But it was Navy's fault for all these turnovers. Could Army zero turnovers? Could they be disciplined enough and just be able to squeeze by Notre Dame? That will eliminate Notre Dame for real. And then would Army be higher, a conference higher than the Midwest Conference?
Yeah. For Army, yeah. And Notre Dame's obviously gonna be a tough game for them. Just matching up kind of on the line of scrimmage. They're
Hmm.
always gonna be a little bit more undersized, but yeah, in that Navy game, Notre Dame, the Navy quarterback, I know he hurt his hand, or
Right.
his hand was taped, and he's trying to pitch the ball with tape on his hand, and that's not really going to work with that offense. So, yeah, they really showed they got behind early, but yeah, if Army could knock off Notre Dame, like we've seen Notre Dame at times take teams lightly, like maybe they do take Army lightly that night, and Army could catch them, but yeah, it'd be awesome kind of see Army get up there, and
That's
I
our
would love
last.
to see Army get it. They've been fun and be cool to kind of see them. It was cool to see them in Navy back in the top 25 and kind of when they were back there in the 40s, when they were a powerhouse.
Yeah, absolutely. Maybe that will bring them back, right?
Yeah,
This is what it looks like right now, by conference, and Notre Dame is also included here. But you can see the ACC, Big 12 in the Midwest only have one team. Could that be a big difference coming to the end of the rankings? So we will see there. It's the college football playoffs, and they'll be back next Tuesday, 8:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Our show will go live next week, 9 p.m. for our reaction as to who is still in the run for the college football playoffs. And we're going to go ahead and move on to third down. And there's our picks for the week. And there's some great games. And I'm going to start off with the Georgia Bulldogs on the road against Ole Miss. My pick, my Bulldogs. Georgia has to go in there and crush Ole Miss and put Lane Kiffin and let him rest in peace and not even talk about Ole Miss anymore. I got Georgia in this game.
yeah, I'm with you. I got Georgia as well. I'm expecting the Georgia team to show up. We saw a couple weeks ago against Texas when that defense just was all over Quinn Ewers. They put in Archie Manning there, and I just don't trust Lane Kiffin in a big game. I just can't. I get it. Their offense looked great finally, but I think you're going to get the best Georgia team this week, and I just don't. I just have a hard time trusting Lane Kiffin. He's always focused on something other than his team.
For the first time this year, Georgia, besides being underdogs against Texas, and then they made a difference. But this time around, the Bulldogs actually are favored 2.5 points. And I'm surprised because I don't think it's going to be that close. But I don't know. The bookies, they know what they're talking about, right? It's all about how they start the game. We know that the Bulldogs are strong in the second half. How are they going to pretty much is What will Carson Beck do? That's all it is. And will they establish that run game? And then the SEC already announced, and it's targeted to Ole Miss, stop faking injuries, right? Stop faking injuries. And I don't think they're going to learn their lesson. I think they're going to accept these fines by purpose, right? It was like, look, we make a lot of money selling tickets for the game. We'll use that to pay off the fines, right? Um, let's go. Let's go. Michigan on the road against Indiana. Is this a trap game for Indiana?
No, I don't think so. The way the St. A team's going about things. They got down 10-0 against Michigan State. Everybody was talking maybe that was their letdown spot, but then they put up 47 straight points, I believe. And I think Indiana's offense is too good, and Michigan's not gonna have Will Johnson, and that secondary's been questionable even with him in there. Now he's out, so I don't think Michigan will be able to keep up. I'm going to take Indiana to go and do their bye week before Ohio State's still 10-0.
Wow, Indiana is favored at 14 points. Ouch. I mean, I to 14 points. I mean, I don't think Michigan's gonna fall on their backs on this. Like, I don't know. I think I might take those 14 points. If Indiana's gonna win, I just don't think they're gonna blow out Michigan. I don't see it. They got to prove me wrong. I mean, we're talking about
Yeah,
the Wolverines here.
yeah, we are, and they're undefeated, or they're the reigning national champions. What do you get at a quarterback? I know Davis Warren through passing he's been a little bit better, but Indiana's defense has been pretty good. They've been pretty good in the trenches, and I wouldn't be shocked if Michigan's defense keeps this thing close, but the way Kurt's United that team's rolling, you know,
The
like
only
I think
blowout loss was against Oregon. Everybody else has been
yeah.
within 14 points. So we'll see on that. Colorado on the road against Texas Tech.
Yeah. For this one, I'm gonna roll with Deion Sanders and the Buffs. And hey, he's done a great job this year. After that Nebraska game, I figured they were gonna be 3-9, 4-8 again. But
Right.
they're getting better in the trenches. They're starting to have a running game. Texas Tech coming off a big win against Iowa State, maybe a letdown spot here. I'll take Colorado to win another one. Go 7-2.
Actually, they came out a narrow victory, 23-22 against Iowa State. You're right. But previous to that, they lost back-to-back games to Baylor and TCU. In comparison, Colorado had beaten Baylor in overtime by a touchdown. So Colorado's defense got to step up in this game, or Texas Tech. I mean, I got a feeling this is going to go over. And let me see, it's 62.5. I do believe this game is going to be over 62.5, and it's going to be a shootout. And if so, I'm scared that Colorado might be on the hot seat. I'm going to stay safe, go over 62.5. But if I was to make my pick, I'll gamble with Colorado. I'm with you there. I'm with you. The South Carolina on the road against Vanderbilt. And the purpose why I have this here is whoever wins is going to help their opponents that they lost to be better. Like they're strengthening up their schedule, right? And we talked about Vanderbilt, how one they surprisingly beat Alabama. But I know it's a huge pick here. I'm gonna like South Carolina in this game. I like it.
All right.
What do you
I'm gonna
say?
go with this. I'm gonna go to the other side. I'm gonna take Vandy, Diego Pavia, then the Commodores here at home. Their defense played well last week.
Oh,
Diego Pavia now 3-0 against Hugh Freeze all time, and South Carolina's coming off the big win. Sellers, the South Carolina quarterback's looking better. But at home, I'll take Diego Pavia. That Vandy team believes right now, and come off big win from South Carolina. Maybe a little bit of a letdown spot here.
I mean, South Carolina coming out of a victory 44-20 over the Aggies, and you still feel safe for Vanderbilt?
Yeah, Clark Lee's done an unbelievable job down there. Vandy 6-3, and they're going bowling for the first time in a couple years. And Diego Pop, like him and what he did in New Mexico State last year, getting 10 wins for I think the first time New Mexico State's at the 60s. Like, him, Jerry Kale, his former head coach, came with him to Vandy
Right.
as like a special analyst or something. And hey, Jerry Kale he wins wherever he goes. So it's unfortunate he's got the health issues and kind of stepped aside as head coach. But yeah, I'll take Vandy here. That there's something different down there in Nashville this year.
Well, I tell you what, the Aggies will need South Carolina to win. On the other side, Vanderbilt wins. It makes Alabama look better, right?
Yeah.
So that's what it boils down to, and that's why I said this game is very important for those two schools, right? And especially we just talked about Alabama losing to Vanderbilt. They're on the road against LSU, and you made a bold prediction earlier in this show. I need you to repeat those comments again.
All right, yeah, I got LSU at home Saturday night, Tiger Stadium. Death Valley. They usually don't lose these home games here on Saturday night, and I know Kellen DeBoer's pretty good. They're coming off a bye. He does well in a big spot, but I like Garrett Nussmeier. I like the way he's been playing the last couple weeks, and I just you know I just hard to pick against LSU at home on a Saturday night. It just is, and I Brian Kelly usually does pretty well in these big games. As long as it's not like a playoff or anything, he usually does pretty
Mm.
well. So I'll take Garrett Guessmeyer here and the Tigers. I think that often puts up enough points against Alabama's defense.
All right, so Alabama's favored by 3 points, and the total is 58 and a half. I'm going to I'm gonna take under 58 and a half in this game. However, if I was to pick, I I'm gonna go against you, man. I'm gonna
All
take
right.
Alabama. And I know, and I got it. Like you look at the last three home games for LSU, they've been victorious. Uh, they went overtime with Ole Miss, and they won 29-26. On the other side, Alabama on the road, they haven't been great. They lost two in a row on the road. They lost to Vanderbilt and they lost to Tennessee. But it's been a narrow. I mean, it's not like no one's. It's not like they're getting beat up, right? They lost by 5 points in one game, a touchdown in the other. Could they get out of that hump, or will they lose three straight on the road? I don't think that's going to happen. I'm taking Alabama on this one.
All right, yeah. Hey, this I wouldn't surprise me if Alabama knocks him off because I really do like Kellen DeBoer. I think he's a really good coach, and I don't think Jalen Milrow was healthy the last couple weeks, so maybe that bye
Mm.
helps him get healthy, and maybe he plays better. Because I don't think he didn't play great the last couple games. Maybe it seems like he was maybe a little bit banged up there.
Well, I tell you what, I do need Alabama to win and Georgia to win, so that way we get knock off a one-loss team, make them have two losses. Okay, I need that to happen. I really
Mm.
do, because should Georgia lose and Alabama win, then Alabama jumps on top of Georgia in the standings. I don't want that to happen. I don't. I'm trying to strategically figure this out here. But yeah, all right. Moving on. Our last pick is the Maryland on the road against Oregon. And I purposely picked this because this is the first time that committee has voted and they have Oregon at number one. Is that more pressure for Oregon, or do you think they'll clean house against Maryland?
I think they'll blow out Maryland here. I think Oregon I think they're getting better by the week. I thought last week they were very vanilla against Michigan. They didn't really show a ton, and I'm not. I don't really love this Maryland team. They haven't been playing great lately. They lost 3 or 4, and Mike Lashley. They usually get off the fast starts, but man, by the time the October, November roll around, they kind of start to falter. And I think Oregon takes care of business here. I really like Dan Lanning, and Oregon's just they're so good in the trenches. I think they'll blow up Maryland here.
Look, Dylan Gabriel has been looking awesome. Uh, but it's just I'm just waiting to see Gabriel be the old self of him. Okay. Now he did transfer from Oklahoma. I forgot where he transferred before Oklahoma.
UCF.
Oh, UCF. Okay. And towards the end of the season is where he breaks down. I'm just curious to see, is he really comfortable with Oregon? Can he get by with Oregon, or will he choke? Because he did choke with Oklahoma. When it mattered most, he didn't show up. Can he do it this time? And I mean, this guy's a veteran in college football. I mean, I don't know. I think he's been in for 6, 7 years in college
Yeah,
football. I mean,
been five,
something's
six years
got to
there.
give, man. Like, what are you doing? Why are you in college for this long? It's
And the
crazy
NIL
talk.
now. You he's trying to make a couple mil, you know?
Yeah.
He's not enough for a
Man.
quarterback, so, hey.
Oh man. Well, it is time for the final whistle. And Justin, I'll stay on real quick. I'll be with you shortly. It's the final whistle, and usually Joe has this, but I have to get this out of my chest. I really do. Unscripted, to the point. And listen, I don't know what to tell you when it comes to teams that are undefeated. And it seems like every year it's the same old, same old. Last year, Florida State was undefeated. They were ACC champs, and yet they couldn't go to the college football playoffs. Yet, I know it was only 4 teams, but maybe if they were motivated enough, they could have had all their starters against Georgia. But instead, they slacked off. They didn't care. They lost the game against Georgia in the bowl game. And then they started the season looking like scrubs. Hey, but when you're talking about our servicemen, those that are going to serve our country, those that just play for the fun of the game, to study hard, to know their history, and get ready to lead troops. When you got those, when you have them playing against college athletes that are preparing themselves for the pros, I think that has more weight. Not the strength of schedule, but the pride. They're playing their games. And Navy too. They're playing for the first time. Besides that one loss Navy did against Notre Dame, it's all right. But they're doing something that we haven't seen in years, since the start of college football, when the real history of the powerhouse Army and the powerhouse Navy just going at it. I mean, this is the reason why they're going over 100 times playing each other in the Army Navy Bowl game, which, by the way, is part of their 12th game schedule. Oh, by the way, that game is after they select the final teams in the college football playoffs, which they say that that last game doesn't matter, right? Hey, it is what it is. Um, but listen, let's put some respect into it. You got Indiana in there with the weakest schedule ever. So why not Army? Why not put them on top of Boise State? Let's give some credit. And I know it's the first rankings, and we shouldn't be overreacting. And maybe they lose this next game. Who knows? But the bottom line is what's happening right now. Do they deserve special treatment? Yeah, absolutely. Damn right they do. They do. Give them some love. Man, if they lose, hey, it is what it is. No hard feelings. But let's honor our troops. Let's honor our men and women that serve our country. We say thank you so much. Let's continue to say thank you for their service. Thank you for reaching that potential to be leaders of our future military. Because after all, that's all they're playing for. They're not playing for the NFL contract. It's the law. They got to serve our country. Let's put some respect into that. And that is my final whistle. Thank you, Justin, for being on my show. Joe, good luck over there on your radio show covering the elections. I hope I get you next week. And for all of you listeners and viewers, thank you. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. Follow me on Facebook. Gotta love some football, baby, right? Yeah. Until next week, you was watching All Four Down.